Welcome back to another installment of me getting my associate's degree in fine arts. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy what is my final semester in my associate's degree. For this semester, I took a grand total of 3 courses, and 2 of those courses are featured in today's video. The third will have one all on its own. The 2 that are featured today are Painting 2 and Drawing 3, and that third course that will have its own video is Fine Arts Seminar, which is all about making a capstone project. Painting 2 really builds upon the fundamentals you learn in Painting 1, and your goal is to apply the knowledge and skills you learned then, whilst also expanding them in order to recreate a master's work, otherwise known as the academic copy. We started off doing cropped studies of the chosen painting we were going to recreate, and we did these crop studies in order to learn and study how our chosen artist paints, down to the micro nuances like the style of brushstroke, how they blend, what colors they use, the ground in which they paint on, and many other factors. Your goal is to really step into and wear the shoes of the artist of choice that you're replicating. The artist I chose to study from is a man named Xiaoming Wu, who's an incredible oil painter. Like, his work is nuts. He mainly focuses on the figure in various portraiture. His work is absolutely striking. His painting style has this looseness to it, almost like you're sketching with paint. And even though there's like this gestural quality to it, each stroke of the brush looks meticulously placed and very intentional, even though that may not be the fullest case. The man could just be going to town on the painting, not really thinking about it. But of course, throughout this entire process, I had to think about every single little detail. The specific painting I chose to replicate was a portrait study he did called John in a Renaissance Hood. Why did I choose this one? Well, my name's Jonathan and I have a bias. I'm sorry, let me live. Also, a part of our academic copy was to create a secondary piece to almost look like a missing piece from this artist's archive. So, you know, John in a Renaissance hood, Jonathan in a bandana. Listen, I had to, it was right in front of me and I had to seize the moment, as they say.
Yes, it is! This is your moment! Have it! Go ahead, the stage is here!
So I'm still a tad new when it comes to oil paint overall, as I only started using the medium seriously over the summer. So this whole process was a learning experience for me. We had the entire semester once we finished our studies, so anywhere from 12 to 15 weeks, to really bring our pieces to a space that we could be happy with. Notice I'm not saying done, because oftentimes, as other oil painters and artists can relate to, is a piece ever really done? No, you're going to be hypercritical, and you as the artist are going to find every little problem with the piece, and you're never really going to be content. But sometimes you just have to put the damn brush down, because you're going to drive yourself up a wall trying to fix everything and adjust everything and make everything to your liking. And sometimes you just have to walk away from the painting, let it breathe, because you need to breathe. Deep breaths. And speaking of arduous experiences, I would find myself throughout this piece really honing in and tunnel visioning on very specific details, like spending 3 hours trying to adjust and paint an eyeball. And as these tunnel visioning moments were helpful in that moment, it would often work against me, because you want to develop the piece gradually, allowing the entire piece to grow and evolve simultaneously. And this was a learning curve that I had to get used to, reminding myself constantly to zoom out and step away from the painting. Another learning curve that I had to get used to was doing the alla prima technique, or painting wet on wet, and allowing the colors and the hues to harmonize together, and letting the paint be paint. Instead of me trying to ask the paint what I wanted it to be, I just had to guide it and allow it to take form and take shape how it was intuitively meant to, which was a bit of a breakthrough for me, as I kind of felt like I leveled up a little bit in understanding oil paint, kind of not becoming anywhere close to advanced, but like I'd say surpassing novicehood when it comes to oil paint, which felt exciting for me. Overall, despite the challenges that would ensue throughout the painting of these pieces, I don't regret them in any way, and I honestly had a lot of fun due to the breakthroughs and the new learning experiences and just the overall catharsis that painting brings. I'm personally pretty content with the outcome of both of these and learned quite a bit when it came to the complexities of mark making, color theory, and rendering form through organic shapes. Overall, painting 2 was great for me. Our next stop on today's travels through my fall semester is Drawing 3. This course will look different and its syllabus will vary depending on what art program you attend. For my course, we were heavily focused on figure drawing from model sessions, and applying creative liberty to various assignments that we were given. This class allowed its students to add their own creative voice into their works, rather than keeping them 150% academic and educational. Drawing 3 was paired with Drawing 2, so we received similar assignments, but we were given far more flexibility to adapt the assignment to our individual areas of wanted growth and evolution. The first large-scale assignment we were given was titled Roberta and Fred, as those are the names of the skeletons we were drawing. Literally, the skeletons are of a woman named Roberta and a guy named Fred. Those were, like, Roberta and Fred were real people, and the skeletons were modeled after. Okay, you get the point. We had around a month total to draw a modeled skeletal still life, focusing on value, depth, texture, and proportion. Skeletons aren't often like the simplest thing to draw, as there is so much specificity, geometry, and complexity that comes with a human skeleton. One thing I noticed throughout my experience with this piece is that there is a fine line between something that looks like a skull and something that looks like an absolute effing nightmare. And I teetered that line quite a bit when it came to me trying to figure out how a skull operates. Working through this piece, I found an equal balance between peaks and valleys. I found myself really enjoying and intuitively integrating a sense and scale of depth and value. employing darker darks and lighter lights and having fun capturing that. Also having a lot of fun rendering fabric and flowing items. But a valley I would experience is trying to mathematically and accurately depict the dimensions of a bone and the perspective of said bone. That would be a big challenge for me because it required me to really sink into the piece instead of float along with it, so to speak. This piece was a fantastic way to start off the semester, so that way you as the artist are able to really understand the inner workings of the subject matter you're going to be working with in the future. You're able to sort of start at the foundation of a human person and then build your way up, starting off with the skeleton, then going into full-fledged bodies. A majority of this class took place during modeling sessions, which are often when the model is nude. And not only is recording during that kind of rude, but it would get me expelled, and I wasn't looking to have that happen. So there's only about 50% of the work I've done in this class featured as time lapses during this video. However, what I can show you is something we did called Figure Drawing Boot Camp, where we watched several figure drawing pose videos and had to draw these various poses in specifically timed intervals. Another series of studies we did was learning from the artist Andrew Loomis, who developed a proportion system to draw the face. We studied from several pages in his book, along with adding in some other exercises to apply his method to. Our next assignment was a bit of a milestone for the class. It was one of the larger and more intensive pieces that we would undertake. Now, incorporating a majority of the practice and craftsmanship we had attained in our figure study sessions, whether that was in person and or for homework, it all culminated in this assignment called the multi-figure composition, which the goal of the assignment is actually in the name. Using references from figure drawing videos and other arts-based resources, we had to come up with a dynamic composition that we would render the piece to a point we were happy with. We didn't need it to be done, we needed to be happy with where it sat, because as mentioned previously, is a piece ever really done? Not really. We broke down the piece into various facets, whether it was the proportions, the heights, kind of mathematically examining the overall piece before going in and creating the piece on a physical canvas. We broke it down using digital methods and overlays. When we were given this assignment, drawing 2 students are required to play around with 3 bodies, only adding a 4th if they felt comfortable or if it worked with their composition. When it came to drawing 3, we were allowed to explore more, add more bodies, add more features, as long as it aligned with our own personal goals that we were trying to get out of the assignment. I had about 3 goals I was keeping in mind whilst creating this piece. The first goal was navigating the use of positive and negative space, allowing for there to be a flow in the piece, and to avoid bombarding the viewing eye with too much visual information. My second goal was focusing on employing a visual hierarchy, meaning which areas should be more developed and more rendered, and which areas can lose some information for the sake of the overall piece. And finally, my third goal was having a broad span of value and depth. This was because in my skeletal piece, I found that there was not enough of a spectrum of value that I would have appreciated or liked. So I tried to keep that in mind while working in this piece, making sure that there were enough bright brights, enough dark darks, and for me, enough of that middle gray area. Leading up to the next longer assignment, I spent some time practicing some male portraits. I spent around an hour on each of these portraits, not only to understand the various proportions of facial anatomy, but to play with its scope of value, and to render with a hatching technique that I would employ in the next longer assignment. I would initially create a gesture sketch of the portrait I was referencing, making it as accurate as I could. After making the initial gesture sketch, I would go in, I'd have the portrait on one side of my iPad, I'd have Procreate open on the other side as a dual screen, and I would make all of the adjustments I could, referencing the photo on the side to make sure that everything was accurate as I could make it. The third step I would do, and I only would do this for slight adjustments like proportions of the eyes or the orbital ridge or a cheekbone, I would put my sketch on top of the portrait to check the anatomical structures. If there were blaring errors like the cheek was too far in or the chin was too far out or vice versa, I would correct these errors. The whole conversation and realm of how to utilize a reference is so nuanced, and there's various pockets of opinions in this discussion. For me, when it comes to my normal illustration work, I use reference as specifically just inspiration and reference material. Photography is often my main visual reference. Oftentimes, I stray away from using others' artwork as a source of reference just because I want things to come from my imagination. But if I'm trying to draw a flower accurately or I'm trying to get the pose of something right, I'll use a photo sitting next to my piece as a reference. However, when it comes to a homework piece like this, where the goal is to study anatomy and achieve as much accuracy as possible, I personally don't mind utilizing an overlay method to correct minor anatomical issues like the bulb of a nose, the cupid's bow of a lip, the indentation of a cheek. That I don't mind because you're utilizing your reference and you're practicing. To put it simply, this is just a page of hand studies. I was practicing hands to understand their different nuances, their different complexities and nuances when the hand is positioned in different ways. We have now approached one of the final pieces I worked on for drawing 3, the portrait piece. We had to make a piece that had 3 to 5 different head positions of the same model and render them to a place of quote-unquote completion. I used myself as the model for this piece as I did do that self-portrait for my Painting 2 class, so I felt that working on both of these pieces at the same time would help to inform each other. This, for me, was one of the hardest yet most fulfilling pieces to work on. For some reason, when you isolate only the head and you focus on rendering the head, you are paying far more attention to every detail and variation of the face versus focusing on the full body. You're really able to investigate and examine facial anatomy and how to render it, and also the various tones that appear in someone's face. And to add some fun to this piece, where the lightest lights would be in each portrait, I used a piece of light blue chalk that a classmate let me borrow to add that pop of color, to add a little bit of visual interest to the piece as well. Long poses were some of my favorite experiences in this class. As we weren't able to take out our phones for obvious reasons whilst there was a nude model present, and we did do long poses for those as well, there were a couple sessions where we did portrait studies of the model while they were clothed. We did these as long poses where the model sat in the same pose for about 2 hours in total. We would draw for about 20 minutes, the model would take a 5 to 10 minute break, draw for another 20 minutes, a 5 to 10 minute break, draw for another 20 minutes, we'd have a long break, so anywhere from 20 minutes to a half hour, and then resume to the previous structure just mentioned. These were some of my favorite opportunities to draw, as we had that one-to-one contact with the model, where the model is directly in front of us, we're drawing from observation, and we have a little bit of pressure on us as we are only allotted that 2 to 3 hours to put our charcoal on the paper and to draw something. And I really liked working in that speed, as figure drawing in general, you do various iterations of sketches. You'll do 1 minute drawings, you'll do 30-second drawings, you'll do 5 minutes, and it really allows you to not only draw quicker, not only understand the eye to hand, hand to paper connection, but also it allows you to be fine if something doesn't look the way you want it to. And it allows you to draw quicker and get more visual information down on the page, which is something I really enjoyed throughout all figure drawing experiences, especially the long poses. As this video is coming to a close now, the slideshow you are watching are stills of the various nude model session drawings we did. It features a widespread conglomeration of drawings. Some of them took 3 minutes, some of them were long poses, some of them were somewhere in the middle, and I wanted to feature the drawings and show them in this video even though I couldn't record them for obvious reasons during the live sessions. As this was my final semester in my associate's degree program, each class I've taken has helped me grow as an artist and as a person in various and exponential ways. Looking back on these videos and seeing what my experiences were like and how I've grown is the main reason I've made these videos in the first place, to simply document the journey. Thank you for coming along with me as I've gotten my associates in fine arts. I will see you in the next video. Thank you again for watching.
Oh my god, I'm done. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm done.
Are you serious?
Ugh, I'm done.
I'm done. I need a nap. I'm done.
Are you done?